April the 4th, 2024. Guys, there's information coming out of Israel that they are scrambling GPS signals because the Iran revenge attack is imminent. Go back a couple of videos and you'll see, and most of you've heard it, it's all around the world, that Israel attacked the Iranian embassy compound in Damascus, Syria, killing some high-level generals. With ever-present fears, Tehran could launch a missile or drone attack against Israel to avenge the death of the 3 commanders and 4 officers of the Iranian armed forces that were taken out by precision Israeli airstrikes earlier this week. New data suggests that GPS jamming across Israel is likely related to prudent defensive efforts to counter such an attack. On Thursday, Reuters journalists and Tel Aviv residents said GPS service deteriorated and in some cases entirely disrupted as an attempt by the military to prevent guided missiles and drones from hitting critical high-value targets deep within the nation. Many bombs, drones, and other weapons use the GNSS, or the Global Navigation Satellite Systems, for increased accuracy. Signs of this signal being disrupted are more evidence that Israel is on the defensive as it awaits missile attacks from Iran. And this is the GPS jam map, basically, and you can see that you've got Syria here, here's the Gaza Strip, and Israel is here, and it really goes way out into the Mediterranean, down over the Red Sea into this area. Check that out. Now you got it's a big football, it's a wide area, but that's going to give them time to possibly deflect due to the GPS going down, or deflect or throw off the guidance systems of a lot of incoming, again, drones, missiles, things like that, aircraft. Other signs the conflict in the Middle East is broadening and entering a new dimension are reports that the Israeli military halted leave for all combat units on Thursday. The IDF is at war, and the deployment of forces is under continuous assessment according to requirements. In a separate report, Israel's military said it was strengthening its aerial defense system with reserve soldiers. It was decided to increase manpower and draft reserve soldiers to the IDF. This is what's coming out from their information. This follows the death of some of the highest-ranking leaders in the Quds force, who were charged of Iran's covert intelligence, or were in charge of the intelligence and military operations across Syria and Lebanon on Monday. The strike was among the deadliest for the Iranian military in years. By Tuesday, the Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran's supreme leader, vowed revenge against Israel. He said, "This evil regime will be punished by the hands of our brave warriors and will make them regret this crime and the like by God's grace." Now, just remember, earlier this week, the U.S. said they were sending a lot more ammunition and supplies to Israel. So how do you think that's going to play out in this game? Israel's attacking Iran and Iran embassies. They already were deemed, or Benjamin Netanyahu has already been deemed the butcher of Gaza because of the situation going on there. So you've got an uproar. But to me, it looks like there's 2 groups that are pushing to war as fast as they can. And they'd like to do it, I think, before November. And in the other video about this, we talked about the price of oil. It says it's a Thursday morning. This morning in New York, Wall Street is on edge as a response is guaranteed. The question now is whether the Iranians target Israel or use proxy fighters in the Middle East to attack U.S. bases. Houthis could also threaten more disruptions in the southern Red Sea. But remember, there are people here in the U.S. from every nation almost now. That's not mentioned, but it's hinted. Any escalation from here is terrible news for the Biden administration, as Brent prices inch closer and closer to triple-digit ahead of the presidential elections. Now, yesterday or the day before, Biden refused to restock the energy supply that we have, the strategic reserves. He had promised to do that, but now it says it would be too expensive at the current prices. So they've drained all of that. They have no intentions of replacing it. The other thing I want to talk about is just as important, if not more important. It's what is happening in Israel. And we've seen many states and counties and cities do this already because of the eclipse coming up Monday. Statewide emergency declared in Indiana ahead of the solar eclipse. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb issued a statewide emergency due to a large influx of visitors to his state to view the solar eclipse on April 8th. Now, I said in the last video about the eclipse, I haven't done a lot about them, that I would be nowhere near that area. But anywhere from Texas going out into the Atlantic Ocean up north. Says a Republican official said that the number of visitors to Indiana may strain the state's communications, transportation, and emergency response systems, warranting the need for the declaration. Indiana includes some of the best locations in the U.S. to see the eclipse according to the map of the path of totality. The massive number of people viewing this event in our state may well stress and or interfere with first responder and public safety communications and emergency response systems such that a technological or other emergency may occur. Mr. Holcomb said in the statement last week, adding that the declaration was issued as a precaution to bring in emergency resources from other states. His order noted the eclipse will pass directly over the state of Indiana, giving everyone in our state an incredible view of this extremely rare event. The order stated that the last time a total solar eclipse passed over the state was in 1869, and after the event on April 8th, again this Monday, the next one is not expected to occur for about 75 years. It is of primary importance to the state of Indiana to be prepared to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public during this event, and to be prepared to swiftly and effectively respond to any emergency that may arise. Now listen, on the surface, it makes a lot of sense, these warnings, because for a day or so before the totality, starting this weekend, you're going to have massive travel backups. During that day and a couple of days after, there's going to be no motel rooms, and the gas is going to run out very quickly. You better have a full tank, and I would have a few ice chests full of at least sandwich stuff or something. But I would not go. Again, that's enough problems with it in itself. But there's some information going around, and I'm not going to go deep into it. I'm going to ask you to trust me on this one. It's coming from a couple of different sources, and I want to be careful. I don't want to get in a lot of trouble here, but I want to let you guys know as much as I can, which is not going to be a much, except for the fact you don't want to be there. There's rumors that something is planned along that path, move all the way from Mexico up to Canada. There's an event planned, and it would possibly be in 2 or 3 layers. Just a few hours leading up to the event, to this path of totality when that occurs, and that this could be a major problem. Now, we know, it's all over the news, that there's a major fentanyl problem in the coming across the border. I mean, that's been in the news forever. And, of course, it's very dangerous. Every time you hear of a big bust of fentanyl, it's enough people or enough in that particular bust to kill everybody. So how many do they need? But, you never know. I guess you could use that for anything. But that is not what I'm talking about. It's something that is that deadly, but could be the way they're talking about doing it. It could be exposing millions of people along the path. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the information is wrong. But the effects of this event, they're saying it may take 7 to 10 days before the effects occur or show up. And that what would happen is you'll start noticing the hospitals quickly filling up, being overwhelmed. I hope I'm wrong. I cannot go into any more detail right now. All I can say, and I hope you trust me as a watchman, that I can't talk about the information or where I'm getting it. But it could be very dangerous. I wasn't going to really talk about the eclipse that much. They come and go. But sometimes man can use these events for deadly, dangerous, sinister plots. Anyway, after 7 to 10 days, the effects of this would be hitting everyone. And it could be worse than the last event that happened over the last 4 years. You know what I'm talking about? It could be worse than that, but very similar. And it could be released very easily according to these plans. Think Dane Wigginton, that type of release. That's all I'm going to say about that, guys. And it's, again, if you come into the comments, be very careful what you say. This is on the down low in a way as far as the total information. But I hope you can glean enough from this to realize that you don't want to be anywhere within this path. And let's take a look at that path for a moment. Now, here's a series of maps, and I'm going to put that link below the video, and you can go to your state if you're in this path and look very closely at the cities, towns, areas where you can have the total path, and then to the left and right, the partial path. And I want to point out a couple of things. Even though they're saying that down the center, we'll take a look at it, the edges are the partial path. In 2017, guys, I said in the last video, I had come out of Dulce, New Mexico, and headed into the mountains here in Arizona. And you're talking about ending up over around Payson and all that when it's all said and done. But we were not in that path either of 2017, but the effects were spread very widely. It was partly cloudy, but it got dark in the mountains there. It's very quiet, except for the traffic on the interstate below us. And again, I read a thing from the Navajos. It's a spiritual thing. They like to be very quiet during the entire event. Not a lot going on. Just, they would stay inside forever. Now, I've read to where more of the folks there that have been seeing these and recording them for thousands of years are now going to the Eclipse glasses. But they don't have big parties and celebrate. They're very quiet, calm, and look at the way God handles events in this universe, kind of in that situation. But I'm going to link to this. You can pull it down and click on your state or your area. Now, here's a good map. It's easy to use. Over here is your time zone keys, and then they're colored from red to yellow. Newfoundland up on the northeast, all the way through Mountain Time Central. You can see your coloration here. Dallas, Texas, 1:40 p.m. Central Time, Monday. That's when it's going to be peaking. San Antonio, 1:33. You can count it through here. And going to Indianapolis, Indiana, here at 3:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Suddenly you're out of Central, and from here on you're in Eastern Time. But it gives you the timing from Buffalo, New York at 3:18 p.m. Eastern. Burlington, Vermont at 3:26. Then it's going to be starting to ease out over the Atlantic Ocean from that point. But again, this is the path, and these are the times. Central Time, closest we're going to get, and we're here in central Mississippi, would be Little Rock, Arkansas, right in there, Memphis, Tennessee area, just after 1:51 p.m. Central Daylight. I think about an hour before that, you're going to start to seeing some of the effects of it. We will see. But this is the map and the timing. Same map, but this gives you the amount of time that you'll see that totality. Usually it's in 3 minutes. San Antonio, you're 2 minutes, 3 seconds. Austin, 1 minute, 44 seconds. But in these areas here, Indianapolis, Indiana, 3 minutes, 49 seconds. Same as in Cleveland, Ohio. That is also where the X crosses from the last eclipse. And you've heard about you've got 2 different swarms of locusts. I think the numbers are 13, locust swarm number 13 and number 17 are supposed to come out in this area about the same time. Maybe later in the month, but that's just some of the things they're mentioning. And another thing about this map, you can pull up your state. Now, depending on the weather, this is the percentage of chance that you'll see a partial eclipse. Oklahoma City, 93% chance. Tampa down to Miami, 46%. You can see it decreases over this amount of time, or this area away from the central. Nashville, Tennessee, 94.7%. You'll see part of this partial eclipse. New Orleans, Houston, you're up in the area. El Paso, you get further away and you can see it. But Boston, New York, there's a good chance you're going to see a lot of this. I would stay inside. It may be one of the few times I would even possibly put on some protection around my face. Close my windows good. Make sure my pets are in. I hope that I'm wrong about this information, guys. Another map. Now let's look at New Hampshire, that area for a moment. Here's Boston right here, Springfield, Albany. This central line is the path of totality. Right in here, it's going to start weakening as you get closer to the edges. Now you can see where you're talking about Holton, Woodstock here, Watertown, down Syracuse are in this path. But remember, if there's an event that occurs, it's going to be moving from here south. It's going to happen 3 times during a very short period of time. And whatever happens could easily, possibly spread to other areas of this. But if you're in these sections, be very aware of what I'm talking about. I wish I could tell you everything I could, but I don't think the channel would be up but a few minutes. So you're just going to have to understand that just the crowds alone, guys, the shortage of gas, food, and the highways being jammed up for 2 or 3 days, and any other problem that could come into effect right now from the situation overseas with Iran and Israel ending up here. Because the whole world knows that millions will be gathered along this path of totality. Now you can go to any state and look at this. Looking at the area coming out of Pennsylvania, guys, Cleveland, Ohio, you're right in this area. Akron, all of you guys there. Buffalo, Rochester, Niagara Falls, Syracuse, look at this. Utica, you're right on the edges. And I would just say, depending on the wind, if any of this information is correct, depending on which side you're downwind from, may be the most dangerous. Again, just taking a look at New Hampshire, look at Montreal, Canada, you're on this edge of it. Plattsburgh, Burlington, Stowe here. Again, here's Syracuse, Watertown, Kingston, Fredericktown, Woodstock, or Fredericton, and Woodstock, Holton. And you can come to your area again on these maps and check it. And just, I would not be in this path. And just looking at Texas, where it comes in across from Mexico across the Rio Grande, here's Uvalde, that became a very popular place during this last little trucker event when they were watching the border. But Waco, Texas, Killeen, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Plano, Tyler, Texarkana, guys. All of this area, Shreveport, you're very close. And now we're getting into the southeast. This is going to be the closest approaches, because you can come through Arkansas here, and then you got Memphis just down below this. Again, you can come here and check out your area and look at it very carefully. Check out the timing. This one is including coming out of Texas. You've got Little Rock here. You can see Oklahoma City kind of to the north of this event, but I was further than this in 2017, and you could definitely see the darkening and all of that. You got Russellville, Hot Springs, Little Rock, Conway, Jonesboro, Poplar Bluff, Cape Girardeau up in Missouri, guys. You're right over that path of totality. Now, you may say, or you may think this sounds crazy, right? What just happened over the 4 years that we just come out of? And guys, there is so much information coming out about how devastating that really was. And think about all the people that said, oh, it's going to be fine. Well, if you trust the government during that period of time, I don't know what to tell you. And now with the results coming out for the people that did trust them, and if you still trust them on a situation like this, I really don't know what to tell you. But they are capable of very evil deeds. Again, you can take what I say with a grain of salt if you want to. It's going to be dangerous enough just having these many people in places with so many new people in this nation from all around the world looking for a situation that they can take advantage of, just that alone. But if you got insiders possibly trying to do something even worse than that, you got to really be careful. We're watching it. You watch it. Just think about it. Pray about it. Ask our Father in heaven for guidance. It's very important. It's dangerous enough, just the event itself. But with some of the other information coming in and the conflicts overseas, it could be a massive time for movement like we've never seen before. Again, we're watching it. You watch it, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.